property in other counties. They're looking to move to those counties. We're losing our residents.
Tuesday, Inola City Council was set to vote on creating a new committee for local industrial operations. Instead, the decision for the Community Accountability Review and Engagement Committee was tabled. It has now been moved to their next City Council meeting.
When things heat up outside, Adriana Stringer's kids like playing in the river park's fountains.
We live just up the street, so we're so grateful for the splash pad. It keeps us cool.
Taking the kids to the splash park is a no-cost way to cool them off in the summer. And when it comes to cooling your house, there are ways for you to stay comfortable while saving money.
Oh, we usually leave the blinds closed. We try and use all of our fans.
When it comes to the air conditioning bills, how do you feel about those?
Oh my gosh, they're brutal. I feel like they're getting worse too.
To help you keep summer cooling bills in check, I visited with AC installer John Wilkerson.
Preventative maintenance is the best maintenance. Save a lot of money that way.
So does knowing how often to change the filters.
I just had the AC guy come out last week, so it must be yearly.
You know, you're supposed to do it monthly for the best efficiency.
Okay.
Otherwise, as they get filled up with the dust, they become less efficient.
Oh.
And make your AC work harder. It also works harder if the system's fan runs all day.
Longer run times on the system means larger electric bills.
So set it to auto instead of on to save money. And set the thermostat no lower than,
Say 72, 74 during the peak hours of the day.
Lastly, if your system's wearing out, check with your electric provider to see if they have rebates to help cut the cost of replacement.
PSO, OG&E, all our big electrical providers, they do provide rebates, yes.
Oh my gosh, I should totally check into that. That would be awesome.
And let her keep her kids as cool at home as they are at the splash pad. At River Parks, I'm Kathy Tatum, 2 News Oklahoma.
Your first forecast, sponsored by A Best Roofing.
You're watching 2 News Oklahoma, part of the Scripps News Group.
Earning a spot in the Spelling Bee Finals takes a lot of work. From Latin and Greek roots to language origin and vocabulary, many of these spellers have spent years preparing for their moment on the national stage. K-A-T. The Scripps National Spelling Bee puts the country's top young spellers in the spotlight. With kids as young as 9 years old, spelling words many adults can't even pronounce. O-E-Y. Correct. So what does it take to be a top speller?
A big part of it is discipline and hard work, being willing to put in the hours. I think part of it is curiosity about language and a love of words.
Scott Reamer is a tutor and spelling coach, and he has worked with some recent Bee champions, including 2023 winner Deb Shaw and 2025 winner Faizan Zaki.
S-E-M-E-N-T. That is correct.
I think the kids who are most successful are the ones who love to do dictionary diving and do searches and find new words. And whenever they find a really good one, there's like a thrill, there's a joy to that, and a passion for that.
These students spend months and sometimes years studying, practicing, and hoping to earn their spot in the National Bee. But becoming an elite speller takes more than just dedication from the student.
This is a big commitment if you want to make it to those Thursday night finals, the primetime finals. It means that your family needs to be committed to helping you study, to giving you time to study.
Reamer says part of that preparation is learning to be okay with uncertainty.
You can't control everything. You do the best you can. You study as hard as you can. But at the end of the day, there are certain things that are kind of out of your control, and you have to just kind of make your peace with that.
Regardless of what happens on the big stage, every speller who earns a spot in Bee Week deserves huge congratulations for making it to the Olympics of spelling. Stephanie Liebergen, Scripps News Group, Washington.
Now, 2 News Oklahoma weather.
Showers and thunderstorms on the way to green country. Right now, the center of activity is down by the Red River from Dallas up towards the southern part of our state, with rain extending into the Panhandle region. Much needed that direction given the extreme drought underway that direction, but we're going to benefit from some much needed rain in our part of the state in the coming hours. Right now, showers are just starting to develop south of I-40. There's Tulsa, so it's still a little ways from us, but if you're in McAllister over to Wilburton, we're starting to see the showers definitely developing just in advance of that lead wave there. across southern Oklahoma and north Texas. We'll continue to see a few more showers developing further to the west as well. We're noticing that just now taking place there in Okfuskee County. These showers, as you notice, the unusual movement to the northwest, moving around a low pressure centered into north Texas, and that low pressure will move northward and keep us quite unsettled with continued chances of rain for the rest of the week. Here's a look at the widespread cloud cover as well. This is what will level out our temperatures this afternoon into the low 80s where we have sunshine. That is going to give way to abundance of clouds into the mid-afternoon hours, mainly far northeast Oklahoma. The last spots left to see a decent amount of sunshine for now. A few sun rays still trying to shine through in the Tulsa area as we look out on the Bob Hurley RV Weather Camera Network. 80 degrees, a bit muggy out there given the higher dew point at 68 at this moment. We'll enjoy that sunshine, or at least the daylight, until 8:32 this evening. At that point, things will be turning wet. And as we start to see more rain and clouds filter in, these temperatures not rising a whole lot further. 80 right now in Tulsa, 78 in Okmulgee, 79 up towards Grove and Grand Lake, 78 in Coffeyville, Kansas. And moving through the rest of the afternoon, there we go. Another few degrees of warming, and then we'll start to trend downward as the rain and storm chance will increase, especially into the evening for Tulsa with a light southeast breeze. Let's walk you through the timeline on this and our future track radar showing rain maybe a bit further north right now than it really is, but the general trend will hold. This band of rain and thunderstorms will lift northward through the late afternoon into the early evening hours. Points of heavy rainfall will be the main concern. There could be some gusty winds involved, but this is not a severe weather setup. Winds aloft that guide and organize the storms are weak, so that will be the limiting factor. Overnight, we might see a slight decrease in rainfall, but we'll still see some showers around that low pressure kind of hanging out right overhead. More rain into your Thursday. Notice the showers are spotty in nature, but likely impacting most locations at a few points in the day. Then we move into the evening hours there, still left with more areas of heavy rain. The slow-moving nature of them could cause some localized flooding concerns, especially with more saturated soil at this point after a bit of a wet spell into last week and early this week. Then more rain kind of spiraling around that same low pressure on Friday. I do think the rain on Friday is perhaps centered a bit further to the east, though. Highway 75 eastward with that best chance of rain. We'll see that slight decrease in the rain chance there on Friday, likely this evening through Thursday. Another uptick with another system passing through Saturday into Sunday. Thankfully, severe weather threats are low. If we have any concern of any sort of severe weather activity, gusty winds would be the main thing in addition to flooding rainfall. We'll talk more about how much rain we'll get coming up in the next half hour. The weekend, if you've got plans, we've got a round of rain on Saturday, so we might have to be thinking about some indoor options. Perhaps Thursday, off and on rain, likeliest again in the afternoon. Then the weekend, warm, not atypical for this time of year, and beginning June with decreasing rain chances and temperatures in check.
The plants, the watering, and the time. You know, having a picture-perfect garden nowadays can come with a hefty price tag, but there are still ways to have a beautiful outdoor space without spending a fortune.
At Denny McEwen's Bloom & Garden Center, no two shopping lists look the same. Liz Mann needs plants that are deer-resistant,
because that's a big problem in our area.
While Glenn Mueller wants something he doesn't have to trim every day.
Something that'll stay small and low maintenance.
If low maintenance is what you're after,
it'll grow really well in the sun.
Owner Chris McEwen says ask about plants that don't require much watering.
Say like zinnias or periwinkle that once they're established, if you're watering them once a week.
On the flip side, he says don't overwater, a common mistake with hanging plants.
They love them so much they kill them with kindness and they overwater them.
When shopping for your yard, McEwen says fertilizer is a nice supplement, but not a necessity. Mulch is important for retaining moisture in hot temps. But just like water, don't overdo it. Keep mulch to about 1 to 1.5 inches.
The water can't penetrate down to the soil where it should be.
If you're in a region with an invasive species, like the box tree moth that attacks boxwoods, ask about alternatives before buying.
An inkberry holly is a great alternative, and you don't have to worry about the insect and the blight problems that are happening with the boxwoods.
Debbie Manning is planning a landscaping project this year.
We want to finish up our area by the pool.
She's cautious of how tariffs and inflation have impacted prices.
It's not as bad as what I thought it would be, but it's still up.
To keep costs down, remember a local garden center expert can pass along their insider knowledge.
You got to have really, really good soil to have rhododendrons.
So you buy plants that are right for your yard.
20% off is pretty good.
And your budget so you don't waste your money. John Mattery, Scripps News Group.
This is what sort of gave us the idea to really dig into our archives.
Star Trek Secrets Revealed. The documentary series Inside the Roddenberry Archive features a treasure trove of rare items, including the long-lost original Starship Enterprise model. The show is set to stream on the Beam by Roddenberry YouTube channel.
We must face the facts! The facts! However frightening they may be!
Andrew Scott's meteorologist faces off with Brendan Fraser's General Eisenhower over the forecast for D-Day in Pressure.
One of the things that I think they share is a sense of humility, a sense of duty, and a sense that, you know, I want to do the right thing.
Pressure opens in theaters Friday.
The weather is unstable.
We're limited in how we can train. You talk about the traveling. Greenland is bigger than Europe.
Weather also plays a major role in No Place for Football. The documentary looks at a Greenland club facing the world's shortest football season as they strive to win a championship for their community and keep playing the sport they love. No Place for Football debuts Friday on digital platforms. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
You're watching 2 News Oklahoma.
As we get closer to the midterm elections, the issue of affordability has continued to take center stage. Democrats seeking to take back one or both chambers of Congress have attacked Republicans for not doing enough to lower the cost of living. But on the horizon, a new bill which recently passed in the House, which has the potential to supercharge residential home building.
On this vote, the yeas are 396, the nays are 13.
Lawmakers hammering out a bipartisan breakthrough in the House of Representatives last week, laying the foundation to get a landmark housing affordability bill to President Trump's desk.
All of us want to see lower housing costs, but we need to change laws. We need to simplify some of the laws so that we can lower those housing costs.
According to the House Financial Services Committee, the U.S. is short as many as 5.5 million homes, attributed to, quote, rising construction costs, regulatory delays, and outdated zoning constraints. The bill seeking to cut red tape by allowing home builders to utilize pre-approved stock home designs to build homes quicker and expedite permitting for new construction. It would also exempt small-scale housing developments from federal environmental reviews, all with the goal of getting more homes built quicker. Cutting red tape could also help bring down costs. The National Association of Home Builders estimates that government regulations account for 23.8% of the cost of a new home. The bill also places restrictions on institutional investors from buying up large quantities of single-family homes, something President Trump called for in his State of the Union address. The bill building a rare bridge between Trump and Democrats in Congress.
There are a lot of problems with affordability. This is something that we can affect. And this was a strong bill, a collection of a lot of ideas.
Last week, the White House saying in a statement, if the House's bill were presented to the president in its current form, his advisors would recommend he sign it into law. The bill, which was amended by the House, still needs to pass the U.S. Senate, but the prospects could be good. It initially passed the Senate in March in a landslide 89-10 vote. There's a chance that when the House-passed version of the bill comes back to the Senate, it might face headwinds. In a joint statement, the chair of the Senate Banking Committee, Tim Scott, and top Democrat Elizabeth Warren saying in part, quote, there's still work to be done. It's not clear if the Senate will pass the bill, but the earliest it could come up for a vote is next month. Nathaniel Reed, Scripps News Group, Washington.
Today has just one of those feels where you think rain and storms might be coming our way, and that is certainly the case. A slow-moving system moving northward into the area right now, generating a lot of cloud cover, as you see on the Bob Hurley RV Weather Camera Network there in Bartlesville. And that rain will be approaching from the south, a little ways from Bartlesville, but to the